Today's video, we see if you are ready to go with a folding phone. In today's review, we're looking at the Z Flip 3. So the Z Flip 3 is just like any other normal phone when it's open. Nice portable 6.7-inch screen, very good sturdy phone. The magic happens when it's closed. This little screen out here is a 1.9-inch screen. You can swipe to look at your notifications and swipe to actually start timers or the weather or do a selfie with the cameras. So this year, Samsung actually made the outside screen worth doing something with. In the previous generations, it was a very small, tiny little information bar. You really couldn't do anything with it. So in all intensive purposes, you were opening it all the time and looking at your phone. So you're actually adding another factor, another step into your daily phone use. While the third generation finally fixes that and goes to something similar like the Motorola Razr has, where there's a touch screen with information on the outside screen. You can glance at it, you can look at notifications, you can clear those notifications. Then if you actually need to handle those notifications, you click on it and you open the inside screen and continue your process just like any other normal phone. Outside or main cameras are both 12 megapixel. One is an ultra wide, one is a standard wide angle. And then the inside or the main display has a 10 megapixel internal camera since it's a flip. What I'm really surprised with is just the overall durability this time around. Adding that IPX8 is also very beneficial in making this water resistant. Not dust resistant, but water resistant. That essentially means the hinge in here has a gap or a covering to eliminate water getting into the hinge and affecting the screen. The screen even closes tighter than it used to on the older generations. Samsung has done a lot to really improve and refine the flip, where the Fold is offering you this big versatile tablet experience from going from a phone to a tablet. Really, the flip is introducing the most streamlined way to have a foldable phone. This is the one that most of the market will probably go with just because, one, the portability is amazing, and what Samsung really focused on this year was reducing the cost. They reduced the cost by $400. What that equates to is you're buying a phone that's at the same price as like the S21s or some of your other mainstream flagship phones like an iPhone or the new Sony Xperia phones. Any of those phones that are in your 1,000 mark puts it into a competitive market, unlike before when it was at 1,400. The storage space that you do get with it is either 128 gig or 256 gig with 8 gig of RAM. The battery that you get is a 3,300 milliamp battery. That does seem a little small, but take into consideration here, depending on how your workflow is with this phone and with this outside screen, your battery life, from what I've seen, is definitely doable for being a full day. Now, if it isn't, you have wireless charging at 15 watts and you have super fast charging with a built-in USB 18 watt brick or even higher from Samsung. If you really take advantage of this outside screen, you might be surprised on how often or not how often you have to open the screen. The other things that Samsung's really focused this generation on the flip is the hinge again. I kind of mentioned this earlier, but we'll demonstrate here with the hinge how much more sturdy of experience it is. And if you're brave, you can close it one-handed. It's a very tight hinge, so if you're expecting early 2000s or before that, some of you may remember flipping your wrist hard enough and it closes your flip phone. That is not this type of experience. It's a much heavier hinge with a lot more going on within the internals. I mean, you're essentially folding glass. So there's a lot more that goes on to make that durability last than something like this, unlike our 200 phones back in the day used to be. Some of the other outside features you have with the cover screen is you can hit the power button, and then you can do selfies or video record as well. Speaking of the power button is also where the fingerprint reader is. This, on both of the flip and the fold, in my opinion, is actually the best place to put a fingerprint reader. Sure, everybody is about putting it under glass right now to reduce the size of the phone and to put it under the glass to look cool, but if anybody has had a under screen or in screen fingerprint reader now, you know the reliability has reduced from what they used to be when they were on the back of the phones or at the bottom of the phones. This brings back the consistency you had by putting it in the power button. And the thing to think about by putting the fingerprint reader in the power button, your thumb or another finger always is going to the power button anyways to turn the screen on. So it's perfect placement to put a fingerprint reader. I love when manufacturers put the fingerprint reader in the power button. You can look for in this phone, if you really want to get into features that it can do, is flex mode. Flex mode is the capability of essentially placing your device on a flat surface and having it halfway opened. This essentially moves, like in YouTube, your video to the top and your controls to the bottom. With the camera, it puts the lens or the viewfinder at the top and the controls at the bottom. There's several other apps that do this, but if there's an app that you would like for those features to be included in that doesn't by default, there's a section in the phone in settings called Labs. This is like a lot of experimental features that Samsung has added, and they've done a really good job of putting it in one area now, as opposed to in previous years being scattered throughout the settings. But essentially Labs is like your developer options, but it offers you extra granular control to the phone, like if you want to have an app that doesn't put those menu controls at the bottom of the phone when you have it in flex mode, you can then do that within the Labs. Samsung also has a really good, robust tool called Good Lock. It's just a very, very large, customizable application that even lets you drill further into Samsung phones. So at the end of the day, what do I think of this phone? I think this phone is much improved from flip foldable phone this year. The Fold 3 is great. Fold 3, in my opinion, I love more than the Flip 3, but it totally depends on the person. It's heavy, it's thick. This is a standard phone, but you gain back portability. You don't always have pockets. This is much smaller to put in a purse. Maybe you might even have a pocket that this fits in now. So there's a lot of portability to it. Samsung's done a very good job on manufacturing the 3rd generation, and 3rd time is the charm. If you're ready to get a foldable phone, the Flip 3 is a really good choice. Till the next one.